The shouting changes first. It stops sounding like courage and starts sounding like doubt. A shield drops. Then another. Someone turns, not to charge, not to reposition, but to run. The line bends. A gap opens. And once one man breaks, the others feel it. Fear moves faster than orders. In ancient warfare, collapse was rarely gradual. It was contagious. But Roman armies did not collapse easily. They did not stand because they felt no fear. They stood because fear was managed, structured, and contained inside something larger than the individual. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Roman soldiers held their ground when others fled, and why in Rome breaking formation could feel more dangerous than the enemy in front of you. If you're drawn to the side of Rome that isn't carved into marble, subscribe to Legions and Empire. Tell us where you're watching from. Seeing this community grow across different countries reminds us that these stories still matter, and it drives us to uncover more. It's tempting to say Romans were braver. They weren't. They were engineered not to break. To understand how, we need to begin with a harder truth. Most armies in the ancient world were fragile. Not weak. Not cowardly. Fragile. In battle, everything depended on men standing shoulder to shoulder, shields touching, trusting the man beside them not to run. But that kind of unity isn't made of steel. It lives in the mind. And under enough pressure, the mind can crack. Armies break when officers fall and no one knows who is in command. They break when exhaustion erodes discipline. They break when noise becomes chaos and formation dissolves into isolated fights. They break when one man runs, and everyone sees him run. Fear spreads visually. The moment a soldier believes the line is collapsing, it often already has. Rome understood this. And instead of hoping for bravery, it built a system designed to resist collapse. A Roman legionary did not fight alone. His shield, the large curved scutum, was not just protection. It was part of a wall. Locked together, shield against shield, it created a moving barrier of wood and iron. Spacing was tight. Ranks were layered. Units were organized into centuries and cohorts, each with defined roles. If the front line is tired, others rotated forward. If pressure intensified, depth absorbed it. Reserves were not improvised. They were planned. Imagine you are the third man in line. You can barely see ahead. Your shield presses into the back of the man before you. Behind you, another shield presses into yours. Movement is collective. When the line steps, you step. When it halts, you halt. Your survival depends on cohesion. If you run, you don't just expose yourself. You tear open the wall. And that wall protects everyone. Roman formations reduced individual decision-making in moments of fear. Less room for instinct. Less space for panic. Breaking required separation. The legion was built to prevent it. For many soldiers, the safest place in battle was inside the formation, not outside it. But formation alone cannot hold men in place. Fear flows in two directions in battle. Forward, toward the enemy. Backward, toward your own line. In the Roman army, the backward fear was often stronger. A soldier who stepped out of formation wasn't just risking death in combat. He was risking judgment from the men beside him. Discipline was immediate, public, and personal. The centurion stood within the ranks, not safely behind them. Vine staff in hand, he enforced order on the spot. Hesitation could mean a blow. Repeated failure could mean humiliation, reduced rations, or demotion. Desertion could mean death. And then there was decimation. Rare, but unforgettable. If a unit disgraced itself, 1 in 10 men could be selected by lot and executed by the other 9. It did not need to happen often. Its existence was enough. In moments of panic, a Roman soldier faced a calculation. Run toward uncertainty. Or stand and face a system that never forgot. Better to face the enemy than the certainty of punishment behind you. This was not a humane system. It was an effective one. And yet fear alone cannot sustain cohesion for years. There was something else binding the line. Belonging. Each legion carried its own identity, its own honors, its own memory. At its center stood the Aquila, the eagle standard. To lose it was disgrace. To protect it was sacred. Soldiers marched, built camps, endured winter, and fought beside the same men for years. They were not temporary levies. They were professionals. A Roman soldier was not just a fighter. He was part of something that existed before him, and would continue after him. Breaking the line meant betraying that shared identity. And that weight mattered. Under stress, humans revert to training. Rome ensured that training was constant. Legionaries drilled with heavier practice weapons. They marched long distances under full equipment. Every night, no matter how exhausted, they built a fortified camp. Routine and exhaustion. Control and uncertainty. Battle is sensory overload. Noise, dust, confusion. In that environment, decision-making deteriorates. But muscle memory remains. When pressure hit his shield, a Roman soldier knew how to brace. When the horn sounded, he recognized the signal. When rotation was ordered, he stepped back, because he had done it hundreds of times before. Training reduced improvisation. Improvisation is where panic grows. Rome did not build its army around individual glory. It built it around predictability. Each soldier knew where to stand, whom to obey, what would happen if he failed. Uncertainty fuels collapse. Predictability suppresses it. Authority flowed in layers: general, legate, tribune, and centurion. If one fell, another remained. This was not a temporary army. It was institutional. Institutions do not panic easily. Roman armies were not invincible. They broke when the system itself fractured, when formation could not hold, when communication collapsed, when terrain shattered cohesion. At Cannae, encirclement compressed Roman ranks until structure dissolved. In the Teutoburg forest, unfamiliar terrain and ambush neutralized formation entirely. Remove the structure, and Romans were as vulnerable as anyone else. Their resilience was structural, not mystical. The system that prevented collapse was not gentle. It demanded obedience, endurance, and emotional control. Years of campaigns separated soldiers from families. Punishments enforced order. And when Roman armies refused to break, their enemies often paid the price. Cities were sacked, populations enslaved, warnings set. An army that does not panic can pursue relentlessly. To fight Rome was to fight something that absorbed defeat and returned reorganized. That reputation alone could weaken resistance before battle even began. Roman soldiers were not fearless. They felt the same terror any human feels when metal collides and men fall. It studied collapse. It understood contagion. And it built barriers, physical, psychological, and institutional, to contain it. Fear was not eliminated. It was controlled, directed, and weaponized. An empire that engineered its armies not to break on the battlefield created a wider culture of endurance. Stability comes from systems stronger than individuals. The legion was the purest expression of that idea. So when the line trembled and dust filled the air, the Roman soldier did not stand because he believed he could not die. He stood because everything around him, training, discipline, identity, and structure, made standing the only coherent choice. Breaking was possible, but it required the collapse of the machine itself. And as long as that machine held, the line held with it. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Legions and Empire for more explorations into the systems behind Roman power. And tell us in the comments, was Rome's strength built on loyalty or discipline?